Hey guys, welcome back to Just a Geek in the Garage. Today I kind of want to continue talking about reasonably priced alternative for some popular Snap-on tools. I did one before that just went through 5 different tools. This time I want to focus specifically on pliers because, you know, pliers are one of my most used tools, probably one of yours as well. And Snap-on has a ton of different kinds of pliers. I chose these 5 here in front of us. You know, if you guys want me to do another video with maybe even a different set of pliers, I can do that as well. But for right now, I want to do these ones specifically just because these guys are somewhat popular. They're needle nose and they're diagonal cutters, usually as part of their kind of 3 essential ones that most people start off with, along with their slip joint combination pliers. Those I don't really like, to be honest with you, but that's a whole nother video. But I included these guys right here, and I'd honestly rather grab for something similar to this than I would those combination pliers. I included these wire crimpers, cutter things right here because I use this one quite a bit. This was, you know, when I was working as a professional, this thing along with my screwdriver were with me everywhere I went. And then you have your kind of lineman / combination pliers right here as well. The 7-inch specifically. The 9-inch ones are great, but you know, for most things that I'm doing, I'm grabbing for the smaller ones right here. So having said that, the pricing, you know, if you guys are familiar, these larger ones are about 80 bucks each, which is crazy. These guys are going to be probably around $60 a piece, again, which is crazy. You can usually buy a high quality set of pliers for 50 or 60 bucks and get 3 or 4 of them versus, you know, buying just one here. And most of the stuff I'm going to show you is going to have some kind of a lifetime warranty. Like I did before, I'm going to show at least a couple of alternatives for each one of these. And one might be from Harbor Freight, the other one might be from somewhere else, just to give you guys some options in case you don't want to shop at Harbor Freight or don't want to shop on Amazon or whatever it may be. So I'm going to start off here in the middle. This is their kind of most recent set of pliers. You know, I bought these guys against kind of my better judgment. You know, I saw these, they were very popular. Obviously, they're trying to go after the KNIPEX Cobra, which is odd because they sell the KNIPEX Cobra on the truck. They have an agreement with KNIPEX, and you can actually buy it and warranty it on the truck, but they decided to come out with this guy by themselves. You know, one thing that kind of bothered me with this one from the very beginning is that this one, they're charging 80 bucks, which is kind of made in the USA money, but it's made in Spain, as you can see right there. So probably a product of Baco, which obviously they own. So let's start off with this guy. So 80 bucks. I think is crazy to ask for that. The most obvious comparison to this one is going to be the actual KNIPEX Cobras right here. Great set of pliers, the 8701 250s. Probably one of the most talked about pliers. You know, people instantly recognize this guy for good reason. It is a great set of pliers. Now, what I would say is actually skip these ones, and I would go with their most recent ones, which are going to be the Cobra ES pliers for a couple of reasons. One, you're going to see the nose here is a little bit more tapered, almost like a needle nose style, but it still gives you that big, that opening right here if you need it, like that. But a couple other things, it also gives you almost that twin grip style notch in the front so you can grab onto damaged fasteners. And it even gives you a notch right here if you want to grab onto like a nail or something else. So I think this is a much more versatile and useful set of pliers than just the traditional Cobras right here, which again, nothing wrong with these, but both these guys sell for roughly about 40 bucks. And for that price, I would rather get these ones than these ones, but either one is a good alternative, I think, to this at half the price. From there, if you guys don't want to spend that much, totally understandable. You could also go for the Doyle version of the Cobras right here. Very, very similar. You know, pretty good performance. You know, I've used these guys a little bit, not quite as much as I've used my KNIPEX, but these ones can be had for about 20 bucks, also with a lifetime warranty from Harbor Freight. And then one kind of honorable mention that I have as well is if you guys have a Lowe's around you, you can always stop in and grab one of these IRWIN VISE-GRIP branded version of this. These guys are great. Honestly, I think I bought these ones before I even bought the KNIPEX just because there was such a hubbub about the KNIPEX, but I didn't want to spend 40 bucks. I want to say these things are like 15 or 20. One drawback or positive, depending on how you look at it, is these guys are pretty beefy right here. They're very thick compared to, let's grab the actual Cobras right there. But, you know, if you compare them to the Snap-on, which, you know, some people say, oh, the Snap-on are heavier duty. Well, they're heavier duty because they are pretty thick right here. This is the snap-on on the top. And when I compare them to the actual alligators, I'm sorry, the Cobras, I always mix those up. You can see how big of a difference that is. So that's those set of pliers right there. So a few different options that you guys can go to, and anything that I can, like I did before, I will put a link in the description, especially if something you can get on Amazon like the KNIPEX. Next up, let's kind of get this guy out of the way. So again, these are, I'm not sure how many of you guys use this style of plier, but this is, for cutting. If you guys are careful, you can use it for stripping as well. And then it gives you crimps for insulated and non-insulated terminals. Great set of pliers, a lot of leverage because they're so long. And if you guys do a lot of electrical work, these things are heaven sent. If you don't do a lot of electrical work, I can see not even needing these, to be honest with you. But again, I like this set of pliers, so I thought I would include these. With this one, I'll go over them kind of real quick, just because I'm not sure if you guys are going to want real alternatives. But again, this guy's 80 bucks. The first set that I like, that I actually ended up replacing these when I was working professionally, and I would interchange them with these guys because the performance is so similar. This is the Channellock, and these ones are around 35 bucks or so. So for less than half the price, you can have a Channellock. And I believe, well, these ones that I have here at least are made in the USA. I've had these guys for a while. I'm not sure if they're still made in the USA, but when I just checked the price, they're around 35 bucks. So for less than half the price, I think it's a pretty good deal. If you guys are not even willing to pay 35 bucks, well, you got these guys from Doyle, from Harbor Freight, that sell for around 20. And when I'm mentioning, Harbor Freight, like with this one or this one, and I'm saying 20 bucks, that's max Harbor Freight price. Remember, they always have sales. They're always going to have, 20 to 30% off coupons, things like that. So keep that in mind. So you can probably have this thing for even, less than, 14, 15 bucks if you want to. So that's all the time I'm going to spend there. And I'm going to move on to the diagonal cutters. So diagonal cutters, are great to have, but only if they actually cut properly. These things are great. I can't say anything bad about the Snap-on diagonal cutters outside of their price. Again, 60 bucks for something like this seems a bit aggressive. So I got a couple options again here for you. And what we're going to do is somewhat similar. So I got a Made in the USA Klein right here. As you can see from kind of how old this is and the patina, I've had this guy for, I don't know how long, probably like 25 years or something like that. And I cut things with this that I definitely shouldn't be cutting. You can probably see what the teeth look like right there. And this thing cuts almost better than anything I've ever had. I cut nails and screws and all this kind of stuff that I shouldn't. And this thing just keeps going and going and going. And again, this thing's probably around in the $30 or $35 range. This one, again, made in the USA. I'm not sure if it's still made in the USA, but a lot of Klein stuff still is. So something like this, I would definitely recommend over this guy if you're looking to save a little bit of money. If you're looking to save a lot of money, that's when I would go into this. Again, another Harbor Freight tool, but this is made by Quinn. Quinn has actually just pliers in general. They have a pretty good set that I think retails for around 20 or 25 bucks. That comes with 4 pliers: the diagonal, the needle nose, the Channellock style, and a like a 9-inch Lineman's plier. And that is a great set. It's actually the set that I bought for my business that my installers use, and they use those things day in and day out, and they work really well. And again, everything we talked about here today, lifetime warranty at a fraction of the price of getting Snap-on. Let's move on here. I'm going to go to the Lineman style combination, and then we'll end off with the needle nose. Now, when it comes to this one, these ones used to be called the Linesman, and actually was engraved here, the Linesman somewhere, but they changed it to the combination plier. There's minor differences between a combination plier and a Lineman's plier. And I'll be honest with you, I sometimes forget the difference. I believe Doc over at Last Best Tool had a video just about that, about how one minor change can change it from being a Lineman's to a combination plier. But again, that's kind of a video for another day. But they're all going to have somewhat similar purposes. So this guy right here is the 7-inch version. Again, it's around 60 bucks. Has some solid cutters on there. Has the that nice gap in between the teeth right here, which, by the way, for anybody looking at this thinking this is a flaw, This is actually a feature. It's not a bug. And so with a normal lineman's plier, you actually want this gap because when you're working on especially things like solid core wire, you want that so you can actually grab onto them but not, really damage them, to be able to twist them and all that kind of stuff. And it grabs onto materials really, really well. So when you see a set of linemans that actually fit perfectly here, that's usually the flaw, at least from my understanding. If I'm wrong, please leave it in the comments down below. But I know when I first got a really nice set of Lineman's pliers and I saw this, I was like, wait a second, I just paid how much and this thing has a gap in there? But when I did a little bit of research, I realized, I was wrong with that. So that's their version. Now, got two different versions here. We're going to go one that's made in Japan. So we're going to start off with the Engineer here. Engineer makes a great set of pliers, especially their more precision stuff. These ones right here would be considered more of a combination plier versus just a regular Linesman, just because it has a few more features on there. But this thing is great, and it has the teeth up here similar to the twin grips, to where if you're grabbing like a rounded off fastener, here, let me grab something to kind of show you guys. If you have something that's kind of sunken in like this, that's stripped, you can basically, sorry, I don't have my depth perception from the camera. There we go. You can kind of grab onto that and you can still twist it. So a great set of pliers. Engineer, made in Japan. They actually make these for the US market, but they rebrand them as Van Pliers. So if you guys have ever seen Van Pliers, they're the identical set of pliers from my understanding, just with a red handle instead of green. But for me, considering the fact that they're green and they're a couple bucks cheaper, I decided to go with the Engineers versus the Van Pliers. So great set, made in Japan. These things are probably somewhere in the range of about 25 bucks or so. So, less than half the price of something like this. And if you want to go with a different country, we got KNIPEX again here. KNIPEX makes, great pliers all around. It's not just their, Alligator and Cobra style that they make great pliers, but they have, all kinds of different pliers. They have this, they have the needle nose, they have diagonal cutters, anything you can think of, they probably have a version of. This is kind of more of a traditional one. And this is probably somewhere, again, in the range of, I would say, around maybe $35-ish, maybe 40, but still going to definitely be cheaper here. An honorable mention, which is probably going to be a bit unexpected, but has actually served me very well. And sometimes I grab these things if I'm working on something, let's say, that's dirty, that I don't want to necessarily grab one of these guys and mess them up, just in case, is just a basic set of Pittsburgh pliers. Pittsburgh, similar almost to Doyle, like I was mentioning before. They got a full set that you can buy with these comfort grips. It's probably about 15 bucks, I think, if I'm not mistaken, for the full set, maybe 20. But it comes with, I think it's like 5 different sets of pliers. But these lineman style pliers are great. They even have that little bit of a gap in there like they're supposed to. You can see the thing's all scratched up. This thing has gotten quite a bit of use. And honestly, these pliers by themselves, if you break it down, are probably going to be less than, I don't know, 5 bucks. So if you're looking for something that's really, really cheap, but still come with a lifetime warranty, nothing wrong with a lot of the Pittsburgh tools. They've definitely stepped up their game in the last few years on pretty much all of the Pittsburgh tools that I've seen at Harbor Freight. There's still some duds out there that maybe haven't been revamped in a while, but you can be said for almost any name brand. Last up, we are going to talk about needle nose. Needle nose, if you guys have watched my channel before, are probably my most used set of pliers by far, just because I do a lot of kind of small work, things like that. I know this is a video that's talking about alternatives to Snap-on, but honestly, this little guy is probably my most used set of pliers, so I can't say anything bad about this because I can't really find something like this. Or I haven't found anything like this. I do have a set of Engineers that are kind of small that I will use as well sometimes. But the fact that these are slip joint, that they have the Talon grip for certain things, it's a great set of pliers. But again, very, very expensive. I mean, this little guy right here, I think is like 50 or 60 bucks just by itself, which is absolutely crazy in my opinion. I didn't pay anywhere near that. By the way, I got a really good deal for the set of 3. That's the only reason I bought them. But anyways, needle nose, I love needle nose. You can do so much with them. If anybody watching this channel, I'm sure you guys, needle nose is going to be one of your most used. The Snap-on ones are great, nothing wrong with them at all, but other than the price of 60 bucks. So again, I'm going to give you guys a couple of alternatives, and it made in a couple different countries. So the first one, let's talk about Klein yet again. Ooh, got something in here. Shows you how good of a grip that they have on there. So Klein, these ones specifically were part of their, I think it was called the American Forge series. I did a video about these guys a while back. But these ones sell for, I think it's around like 25 bucks, which is a great deal for a pair of pliers that is made and forged in the USA. Lifetime warranty, and has, you know, excellent quality. Like when you pick these up, you can really feel the quality. I mean, they're heavier than these guys right here. And they usually go for somewhere around like 30 bucks or so. If you're to walk into Lowe's today, you'd be able to find something similar to this. They might not have the full American flag. This is, I think, was a commemorative series, but either way, great set of pliers. This actually lives right on my workbench. If you guys have seen my workbench, I actually kind of have like a little thing right here with some of my most used pliers and screwdrivers and stuff like that. And this guy lives right here on this magnet, so it kind of shows you the space of honor that one has. So great one to go with. Roughly half the price, maybe a little bit lower than half the price of this guy. Definitely one to check out. And then the other one is going to be this KNIPEX. So I know I just talked about the KNIPEX combination / Linesman. This was part of the same set. Also came with a diagonal cutter. Diagonal cutter is good, but I liked the Klein one that I use better than the KNIPEX version. Just personal preference. But these guys are great. These ones, the needle nose is actually a little bit thinner than these ones right here, so you can probably get into a few more spaces than you can. Now I know, Snap-on has a few different versions of the needle nose. I think this one's called just a regular, this is their regular one. There's a duck bill, a stork bill, all that kind of stuff. So a bunch of different ones for different types of jaws, but this is their most basic one. But this is a great set right here. So and then one actually, again, honorable kind of mention, which is on my workbench that I kind of keep here to use, is one from Harbor Freight from Doyle. I like this guy just because of all of this right here. This comes in handy when you're grabbing stuff, and I find myself grabbing for these guys quite a bit. And I want to say these things are like in the $10 or $15 range. Super cheap, plus they're spring loaded, which sometimes I like, sometimes I don't. That's why I have a couple sets of different ones. But again, great way to go. So again, we're looking at 60 versus probably around 30, 35, and maybe 10. And then where did I put? Oh, I already put these guys back. And then these guys also around $30. But ultimately, this video is kind of here to show you that you can get something that is significantly cheaper than the Snap-on version, that's going to do the job that you need to get done, that's going to last you a lifetime, and if it breaks, you can replace them. I mean, it doesn't matter whether it's Klein, KNIPEX, Doyle, all these have a lifetime warranty. Some are easier to use than others. I mean, again, Harbor Freight, I think is, I think people have mentioned this before, but Harbor Freight is almost to me like the new Sears, where I used to love Sears back in the day because I could, walk in with, a broken tool, walk out with a brand new one. It's very sad that they're not around anymore, and that when you walk into a place like Lowe's with a Craftsman product, that they don't do the same thing like they used to, unless it's an identical item number. If it's not, they're going to give you a hassle. But, Harbor Freight has always done a great job with just, you walk in with a tool, you walk out with a brand new one, done and done. I'm not a shill for Harbor Freight. I'm not associated with them in any way. I just happen to like their quality. I think they're stepping up. And again, that lifetime warranty, especially when I buy this stuff for the business. And that's one of the reasons, again, why I went with, Quinn for the pliers that I use there. And it was Doyle for the, Doyle for my screwdrivers that I said in my last video. Because I know that, if my guys are out there using this and one of these things breaks, they can just hop into a local Harbor Freight and they can get it swapped out right then and there. So tell me, what do you guys think? Was this video helpful to you? On my last video, you guys left a lot of great comments that, the video was useful to keep these type of videos coming. If you guys want to see more of these videos, please comment down below. If there's any specific tools from Snap-on, especially if you've seen them in one of my tours, let me know if you want me to add it to this kind of series. And if you want me to do another one of maybe 5 different pliers than what we did today, let me know as well. So as always, thank you guys so much for watching. Please like and subscribe.